So I wanted to come to that. We've seen many interlinkages of science and spirituality, and now with the proven connections of quantum thinking, with the notions like the overview effect from space, butterfly effect, quantum entanglement. As we know, everything is so intricately interconnected. The point of singularity, along with the black hole, white hole interconnects, annihilations, time travel through wormholes, and I'm talking a lot of cosmic sort of aspects of where humanity can play such a key role in shaping what we have in our with our inner self.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of that abstract phenomena of deep space reflect about that infinity within us. And I think even from India, like when we talk about shunya or the infinite, the both the ends. And I think we've got so much deep interconnections of how the zero philosophy, Shunya, sort of came about. And I was actually experienced that in Bangalore in one of my trips there, India's first electric car that was launched by Mr. Maini. I was very fortunate to have
Reva.
a Reva, yes, and that's his wife's name, who he
I
named it
worked
after.
with him when I was
Really?
in Ford,
Oh,
so I know
amazing.
Gautam Maini well.
Really?
Yeah.
So when I visited him, actually, I remember in his boardroom the beautiful plaque about zero from Aryabhatta and how it's zero pollution, zero wastage,
Yes,
and everything about how zero is such a deep philosophy that we need to abide by.
it is.
So I think there's a lot to learn about how the cosmic world out there of infinite and one end of zero, can sort of teach us about our inner self.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So how do you see that sort of inner superpower of intuition and wisdom sort of influence the outer world in a positive way? What sort of light can you shed there?
Yeah, I think first we need to comment on this wonderful, interesting stuff you talked about, shunya and abundance, isn't it? that's a very interesting philosophical, sort of what do you call it, revelation or discussion we have in India from time eternal. Shunya and abundance, which is infinity, we see it as not two poles actually, but one and the same. How is it ever possible, you may ask? My name is Ramuji, right? There was a great mathematician by the name, I have to do justice to him.
Of course.
So if I ask a mathematical question, how many edges does a circle have? The answer is 0.
Or infinite.
But technically infinite. Because a square has 4 edges, and then it becomes a pentagon, it becomes a hexagon, it becomes a nanogon or a decagon or whatever. When it becomes an infinity gun, it becomes a circle, you see. And just as a layman looking at it, how many edges does a circle have? None. So infinity and this concept of shunya are not different.
Right.
They are one and the same. It's just, for example, in even realization. And when you become more mindful, you get to the state, I think it's also called shunya. But then I ask a question, who is experiencing the shunya? The one who is infinite is experiencing the shunya. Because shunya can't exist in abeyance. There has to be a person, a conscious being, cognizing a shunya. That conscious being is infinite. That consciousness is infinite.
Right.
And the experience is that of shunya, which is an objective shunya, subjective infinity, and the experience is one. So you have connected 0, 1 and infinity. You see? So that's how philosophy goes in India. And I'm so happy that you're trying to connect that with, zero waste and zero tolerance for, absence of, values and stuff like that. And that is how we usher in abundance. Shunya ushers in abundance. When I stop becoming I totally, and as you very beautifully put, when I becomes we. So I has become shunya now, we has become infinite now.
Wow.
You see?
Yes.
So abundance is in the we. And we can go to we when I becomes shunya. You see? So I think it's a very sound, lovely philosophical base you're built on the whole structure out here. And yes, there is this intricate link between what now we call as science and spirituality.
Right.
I'm terming it very carefully because I did this little research. You know why? When I went to do we have time?
Of course we do. Please.
You can trim it if you want to. When I went to the US, there was this interesting debates about some very brilliant scientific minds challenging very compassionate religious minds. Both are very important. And I said, where is this conflict coming from? And I did a little bit of research.
Right.
You see, the word science, it might have come from Latin, but I think it came from French word called scientos, which means knowledge.
Right.
And in India, the word knowledge comes from the root of the word, which is Sanskritam, which is as old or maybe older than Latin, which comes from the word vid, to know.
Or Jnana. Jnana is also
With,
another with, right. Yeah.
Jnana is of course
Jnana is also
knowledge.
knowledge. Yeah.
I use the word with because I'm going to sort of work on
Sure.
that. Jnana is of course knowledge.
Knowledge.
With is to know.
Right.
And scientos is to know. And now in India and also in most part of the world, this knowledge or this knowing was separated into two for convenience.
Okay.
That which is external were called natural sciences, and that which is internal to the mind and beyond is called, moral sciences or spiritual sciences.
Yeah.
So it's all knowing. And in India, in the one of the most ancient texts which we believe is timeless, it says that vidya, which is knowledge, is twofold. One is called paravidya and aparavidya. So the knowledge of the mind and beyond is called paravidya, higher knowledge. And the knowledge of those which are manifested around us was called aparavidya or starting level knowledge.
Sure.
We always need to go outside in our spiritual journey. So they called it starting and final. Okay?
Right.
So here there was no conflict between science and spirituality at all, ever in Asia.
Right.
Because scientists never attacked spiritualists. Spiritualists never attacked scientists.
Right.
In fact, in India, people who saw something beyond were called seers.
Okay.
Rishis, right?
Yes.
We call Rishi, mantra drashtaha rishihi. And the English translation is a seer.
Right.
S-E-E-R.
Right. Yeah.
I was first a little bothered about what is the seer. Everybody sees.
Yeah.
So I went and asked my master, everybody sees, why are they called seers?
Like a watcher. Like
The one who
watcher.
sees, right?
Who sees.
Seer.
Yeah.
And he gave a very interesting...
Observer. Also,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
So he gave me a very interesting explanation to defend the word seer on a lighter vein.
Yeah.
He said, seers are the people who reveal what they saw. But we, which means me, because I consider my master to be a seer in his own right. He said, but we say what we thought we saw. You see? And that clarified everything to me.
Yeah, that's the same story you said about the angle of vision earlier, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we included the one whom you are talking about, Bhaskaracharya, as a seer. We respect him. We revere him.
Yeah.
Right? And there was this person who discovered surgery and applied surgery maybe 6,000 years back or at least 3,000 years back.
Yeah.
And certainly 2,000 years back. I'm telling you all the deadlines because we have a little bit of a colonial shadow in our scientific research. So I can't exactly, with authority tell the dates. And he's called Sushruta, Rishi, who? Father of surgery and medicine. We look upon him as a Rishi.
Yeah.
So the people who traveled the path of external physical sciences, natural sciences, were revered as a rishi, seer. And people who trod the inner path of consciousness and, how do we take care of the mind and its vagaries, etc., were also revered as rishis. There was no conflict. The conflict came in somewhere in the Europe, I guess, and I think they called it Renaissance time or whatever it is. I have no idea. I'm not a student of history, so correct me if I'm wrong. When these two people started holding on to their positions without being very open to the other's position.
Okay.
In India, it was never the case. If you take one of the ancient texts, which is certainly 5,000 years old, it talks about cosmology. It talks about, spans of time which West could not even imagine.
Totally.
At that point of time, I'm not trying to be, nationalistic here. I'm just talking as a student of life here. This Purana, I'll tell you the name, it's called Bhagavad Purana. You know what it talks about? It talks about spans of time which people couldn't even imagine. It goes to about 29 zeros, you see, of time. When people thought the world existed only 5,000 years back, was the general thinking.
Yeah.
And here it is talking about when the earth goes around itself, it's called a day.
My God. Yeah.
When the earth goes around the sun, it's called an year.
Mm-hmm.
So far, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Then it takes a giant, can I use a logarithmic leap?
Cosmic scale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
goes
right.
to this
Yeah.
cosmic scale, exactly.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
says
Exponential.
there is a scale of time called Manvantara.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that Manvantara's number is about, say, 30 million or so years.
Wow.
And is it a mental construct
Mm-hmm.
or a physical construct? Bhagavatam says it's both.
Wow.
That it is the time our entire solar system takes to
Mm-hmm.
go around Milky Way 5,000 years back. And then when I was in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
there was a person from NASA
Mm-hmm.
who came and said, wow, when I was speaking this, it
Yes.
was a religious lecture,
Yeah.
so-called. And I looked at him and said, I didn't, kuch jnaan to nahi diya usko. I was just parroting what my book told me.
Mm-hmm.
He took me out and said, I can't believe
Mm-hmm.
that you Indians knew this 5,000 years back.
Yeah.
Why? Because he showed me a Google page, Wikipedia.
Uh-huh.
They call it galactic year.
Right.
And they discovered that a galactic year is about 25 million years old.
Right.
The span is 25 million
Yeah.
years, 40 years back.
Oh,
And they are
okay.
correcting to 28 now.
When the Milky Way galaxy was formed, that's
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
The time it takes for the entire solar system to go around the Milky Way
Full
is
galaxy.
a
yeah, yeah.
cycle.
Right.
And that cycle's timeline is there.
Yeah.
So, what do I call it? Spiritual or scientific? It is just knowledge.
Both. Yes.
It is just vidya.
Mhm.
It is just scientos.
Mm-hmm.
So now your language which you're using is very important because first people need to understand that science and spirituality are not at loggerheads.
Yeah.
They complement each other.
Mhm.
Both are essential because we need physical abundance, we need abundance of consciousness, both together.
Yes.
And that's the language I think we need to talk, which you rightly did.
Yeah.
And then they realize, why should there be two?
Mm-hmm.
It's just knowledge.
Totally. And I mean, science is now proving that, telepathy, for example,
yeah.
again, through quantum entanglement and these sort of things which we've always known from the rishis' times, of course, that how they
What
would,
I am
the
suggesting,
drishti, right? They would
yeah,
talk
the
about.
drishti, the
And the,
jnan, it's
the
called
jnan,
divya jnan.
Exactly.
Let it be there. But I would take a far more neutral position here,
Yeah.
saying that I don't want science to explain my consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Science needs to deal with facts. Right?
Yeah.
What is fact?
Mm-hmm.
Philosophically speaking, fact is that a truth distilled through the five senses is called fact.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
So a truth, when it goes through the filters of five senses,
What we see, hear, do,
hear,
the-
taste,
yeah.
becomes a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And spirituality's interest is in the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the science could not reach there, I think science should respectfully say, this is my limit.
Yeah.
You have gone beyond that which can be observed because
Right.
you are the observer.
Correct.
And as you rightly said, in the field of quantum physics, etc., now they're questioning the constancy or absolute nature of an observer,
Right.
right? And that is shaking a little bit of foundation. They're
Yeah.
trying to figure that out. Let them do that.
Mm.
All right. And I would say, why can't, like a doctor comes and starts designing a house.
Yeah.
Why should I want a doctor to do that? Can we understand the limits of all the fields of knowledge, including science? Why can't scientists openly say, I don't know, when they don't know,
Yes.
instead of saying it's not there?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And why can't spiritualists say, I don't understand much of this physical abundance, I let the scientists and technocrats
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is the philosophy, this is the vision, and we are not equipped to do execution. Let the electronic engineers or, the people who have the technology do it.
Totally.
And they, I think, should not interfere there.
Yeah.
And science, respectfully, I'm a student of science, a lifelong student of, I love science.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I need to know what is the limit to
Limit.
which science is intruding.
So true. So true.
Consciousness is not
Mm.
the space of science.
That's right.
If it gets there, it no longer becomes a science as it is defining itself
It
today.
gets limited. Yeah. Exactly. It's
Then you
limited
come
in
to
its-
Indian
yeah.
definition of vidya. Then
Right.
I'm fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't separate a boundary saying
Sure.
physical sciences and science means it has to be verified, it has to be constant and
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Mhm.
When you move away from that place, you are losing the apparent identity of science right now.
Sure.
Which I don't have a problem because
Yes.
I have always seen vidya as vidya, knowledge.
Yes.
The knowledge which I see in the physical objective universe, I call it science.
Right.
When it goes to subject which is I,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Calling it science is merely a platitude.
Totally.
Why should I name it anyway? It's consciousness. And it belongs to the realm of spirituality. Why should science intrude there? There is no need. I'm happy if science says, beyond this, I don't know. And we will take over.
Exactly.
You see,
Yeah.
this is what I feel.
No,
and
no,
I'm very happy, as you
yeah,
rightly said, we are in a time where the science is truly being open to stretch its borders.
Yes,
And
exactly.
things like, entanglement or even the Bell's paradox, you see,
Yeah.
simultaneity,
Mm-hmm.
which nothing travels through space. It's
Yes.
like a simultaneous stuff, the Bell's paradox,
That's
where
right, yeah.
you have a charge which is inverted here, you have a paired particle,
Yeah.
it's
On the other
millions
end.
of miles away.
Exactly, yeah.
In a second,
Getting
it
impacted.
changes.
Yes, that's right.
And now science is now baffled.
Now proving that, exactly.
So
yeah.
let it be baffled.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop there.
I think a great learning I've had is the more you get to know, the more you realize how little you really know, how much more there is yet to be known, right?
Sir.
And this is the wake up we had
Absolutely.
through the intersection of
Yes.
science, technology,
I
and
see.
spirituality.
I fully agree there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we spiritualists, when I say we, I'm both spiritualist and a scientist, so I'm taking the hat, 6 hats ka ek hat.
Right.
So I tell that as a spiritualist, I don't want to intrude into all the execution of what my vision is. I know these people will do better. And I should stop myself with saying, can you control yourself
Yeah.
from getting bitten by the media bug?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need to do.
Yes.
I'm in no position to give judgments about how electronics or IT industry is moving,
Right.
or why there should be so much social media. Hey, that's not your place. There are sociologists who will work on that. If you are a spiritualist, try to make people understand how they manage this.
Yes.
So obviously there will be distraction and manipulation. That's the two, can I use the double second edge of the sword of IT
That's right.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And the positive side is, I'm doing this with you.
Yeah.
Can I imagine this? Reaching, say, 1,000 people, 2,000 people sitting in a room?
Yeah.
Am I not grateful to technology? I am.
Totally.
So my place as a spiritualist is to educate people, learn your, habits, learn when you are binging, manage yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
And if I'm a sociologist, I have to talk to governments and try to put all the limits, etc. If I'm a technocrat, then I build in the safeguards. Like, this device tells me how much screen time I'm having. Is it good for me or not? That's a very good step they are taking.
course.
So each of them, I guess, needs to understand this is where I need to work on or not step on.
That's right.
I guess, it's my opinion, and I would certainly not want everybody to agree to it because I respect diverse opinions, and I would expect people to at least give a ear to this opinion.
Yes.
Saying that let's stick to this is my core competency, this is my core field. I'll stick to this, and this is what I'm going to manage given this problem.
Right.
And I'm going to pass on the problem to sociologists or whatever they call it, social psychologists or whatever. Hey, I have a problem of attention with middle schoolers.
Right.
How are you going to deal with it?
Yes.
Instead of me standing on a pedestal and crying down,
Yes.
I
Exactly.
think that's not my job. You see, that was never the way in which Asia approached a problem.
Yeah.